Alright, listen, here's the deal. I just finished my Unholy DK video, which should be up already. And as I was finishing, I noticed Shadowlands Beta Build 36401 out. So I'm like, okay, let's go over this quickly, since I'm already here. No, we are real men here. We only go through important and necessary changes to mention, not this useless shit, not these small tiny numbers and these small percentage changes that don't really modify the way something works. We only want the bigger, thicker changes. You're a zoomer, you don't have time to look at a 20-minute video about changes, you just want the quick and fast changes that you're interested in and then leave, right? So, we start with Death Knight. Death Knight as a whole has gotten fuck all. The only change is Eternal Hunger, which I covered in my Unholy DK video without even realizing it was changed. I was just sure it was 5-second longer Dark Transformation. Instead, turns out it's been changed to a 3-second longer Dark Transformation baseline, and now what is going to scale with the Conduit is going to be the extra damage by the minions. Before, it was 5 seconds longer duration, scaling all the way up to 15 seconds. Now it's going to be 3 seconds longer duration and 3% more damage by your minions, scaling to 7.2%. This is a buff. Your minion damage is very important. Your single target minion damage is even more important. It makes it also even more important to line this ability up with Army of the Dead or with Apocalypse, more likely with Apocalypse, to have as many minions out as possible to make use of this Conduit. But for Death Knight, not really much else. Now we have to start with the disaster that is Demon Hunter. So, okay, let's start with the good. Fell Bombardment has been buffed, okay? Before, Fell Bombardment used to do 20% more damage to your next Roguelave on all targets. It was nerfed to deal 20% extra damage only to your primary target of your Roguelave, so now they have buffed this part from 20 to 50%. So it is a buff, it is still not as powerful as it was before, but, you know, we can let it go. What we cannot let go is this abomination. So, Unbound Chaos before used to hit for roughly 7 to 8k damage. Now it's gonna hit for roughly 3k damage. I had an entire video about Havoc Demon Hunter where I talked about Unbound Chaos as part of your AoE rotation, as part of your extra parterre of cooldowns between Fell Barrage and I-Beam and all of that. Well, now it's gone. Now this ability, this talent is weak. It doesn't justify having to use one of your mobility abilities just to do a tiny bit of extra damage, which isn't even that much. 300% damage increase on your Fell Rush is nothing when the base damage of your Fell Rush is so low. Really, really disappointing change of a talent for Demon Hunter. Now, let's go a little bit more happy because Druid has gotten some very good changes. Now, Guardian Druid. Let's just quickly rush over the quality of life changes of Guardian. Some extra damage, some extra haste during Berserk, and a easier usage of Frenzied Regen with well-honed instincts. These were the nice QOLs in the background. The real good changes are for Balanced Druid, because Stellar Inspiration and Umbral Intensity have now gotten some significant buffs. Stellar Inspiration is now going to make your Star Surge and Starfall have a 20% chance to empower Eclipse, or extend Moonfire and Sunfire by double the amount. This is very good. As you have watched my Balanced Druid video, which is just 1 day old, you will know that every hit of Star Surge is going to increase the damage of your Wrath Eclipse by 6% and your Starfire in Eclipse by 6%. And now this one is going to give you a 20% chance to double that every time you Star Surge, which is very good. This is also even better when it's paired with Umbral Intensity. Eclipse's damage bonus to Wrath and Starfire is now increased by 30% at the start. This literally means you get a free Star Surge effect as soon as you enter Eclipse. Before, the base damage of Wrath entering Eclipse was 20, with this Conduit is going to be 26%. It's as if you already landed a Star Surge. Same goes for Starfire. The base crit chance of Starfire when you enter Lunar Eclipse was 20. With this potency Conduit is going to be 26%, as if you landed an extra Star Surge. With those two together, Umbral Intensity and Stellar Inspiration, with the something like the Time War Dreambinder Legendary that can make you cast 4 Star Surges at the start of Eclipse, you can literally get 6 to 7 effects of Star Surge on your Eclipse buffed ability. It's very, very nice. It's a good change for Balanced Druid. We have to mention though that where your Convocted Spirit has been slightly buffed, which are not mentioning here because it's a minor buff, the real nerf is to Ravenous Frenzy. As I mentioned before in class changes, Ravenous Frenzy has been changed 50 times already. Now the next change is going to be a nerf to their crit stacking on your Ravenous Frenzy by 2% per stack. It would even scale all the way up to 4.8% per stack, essentially giving you 100% crit eventually. Now though, the crit stacking is going to start at 0.50 and cap at 1.20. So severely limited crit stacking on this Conduit. Now, given how stronger balanced Conduits are right now, the potency ones, this wasn't already gonna be taken anyways, but it is still a nerf. Marksmanship, Beast Mastery, Survival, nothing. Let's skip. We skip directly into Frost Mage. Not even Arcane, not even Fire, just Frost Mage. The only two changes. So, Slake Ice has gotten a change, which you could argue is just a change. To me it's a nerf. To me it's a nerf because what you want from your Frostbolt as a Frost Mage is the fact that you cast them. You know, it's the procs you can get by casting the Frostbolts, not the extra damage increase that you would get from Slake Ice. You want to use the Frostbolt so you get more Icicles, so you get more Flurries, not really because your Frostbolt is going to do more damage. So I'm a little bit confused about this change. What I am not confused about is about this Soulbind Conduit, because this was massively overpowered. I mentioned this when it was first added. 25% extra Ice Lance damage to frozen enemies, scaling all the way up to 60% was just ridiculous, and it has now been put in line. It will start at 4% now, the extra damage, and scale all the way up to 9.6, which is more sensible, considering how much damage your Ice Lance is doing, about 90% of your total damage as Frost Mage right now. This needed some changes. Another happy buff. I am a big fan of increasing the damage of Brewmaster Monk because I know the state Brewmaster is in right now when it comes to damage done. Breath of Fire base damage increase, very nice. And now we go to Mistweaver Monk. These changes are very good, and at the same time, So Ancient Teachings of the Monastery is a massive buff to Fistweaving Monk. Before, this help to Fistweaving was terrible. I mentioned before in every single video I made regarding Mistweaver Monk, whenever I had to talk about Mistweaver Monk, that Fistweaving didn't work. This legendary, which was supposed to synergize with it, increased your Fistweaving essentially by giving you 120% of the damage you dealt with your damaging abilities into a single target heal. Now, after casting Essence Font, they are going to heal for 250% of the damage done instead of 120. This is now doing a significant amount of healing, and it is tied by casting Essence Font. But it is also better, because not always you will need to AoE, not always you will need to have this legendary active. The fact that now you have a legendary that you can activate with Essence Font and now gain a more than doubled the healing effect that you used to get before, it's a much, much stronger legendary. Now the question mark legendary is Tear of Mourning. Blizzard has tried to work around Tear of Mourning for about 4 patch cycles now, and now they have basically completely changed it. Before, the way Tear of Mourning worked is you would tag a target with Renewing Mists, and then you would leave behind a buff on the target which would heal him by 20% of your enveloping and vivify healing on the targets that you tagged with this legendary through Renewing Mist. Now it has been changed into this. Look what did it look at? What a fucking word salad is this? Jesus Christ. Casting Vivify or Enveloping Mist on a target with Renewing Mist has a 10% chance to spread the Renewing Mist to another target. Your Vivify healing through Renewing Mist is now increased by 20%, and your Enveloping Mist also heal allies with Renewing Mist for 20% of its healing. Oh my god. I will have to see how this works. The previous one wasn't as strong after they nerfed it. I'm thinking this one is going to be flat out better, purely because of the extra chance to spread Renewing Mists, but I will have to see. I will report to this in a couple of days once I've done more tests. Right now it's way too early. Going into one of the other most changed classes, we have Paladin, specifically Holy and Ret. Holy Paladin has gotten one of their legendaries changed. Before, Shadowbreaker used to simply buff every healing done from the targets tagged by Light of Dawn, while also making Light of Dawn 40-yard range like your old Azerite trait. Now instead, it's going to buff your Mastery. When your Light of Dawn is going to tag allies, it's going to make your Mastery work as if they were within 10 yards, which is simple. You tag someone 40 yards away with Light of Dawn, and with this legendary, it's as if they were close to you in melee range, since you want to be a melee healer, right? This is a good legendary for that. And also now Word of Glory receives 50% benefit from your Mastery. Other change to Holy Paladin is that Shock Barrier has been changed. Before, every time you Holy Shocked, you also applied a flat amount as a spell power scaling shield. Now, the scaling is going to be tied to 20% of the healing done by Holy Shock. Now, this is counting overhealing, so it doesn't matter if you heal or overheal, always gonna count, but it's gonna count a crit, which means this legendary is going to be better when you crit and better later on in the game, when rather than counting flat percentage spell power, it's also going to count crit chance. At the start of the expansion, this is a nerf, because you will crit much less often, even with the extra crit chance of your Holy Shock, and then later on in the expansion, this is going to be stronger. Now, the quest to nerf protection paladin damage continues. The potency conduit vengeful shock has been heavily nerfed. Avenger's shield used to debuff the target to take 15% more holy damage for 5 seconds, scaling all the way down to 45% at max rank. Now it's been nerfed to 3% first rank and 7.2% max rank, so about a fifth of the damage overall. Now rejoice! Finally, Red Paladin has gotten some meaty buffs to their potency conduits. Yes, they are just potency conduits, their legendaries are still so-and-so, but Expurgation, you know, your trait from Azerite traits, is back and now buffed compared to what it was before, about double the damage. Templar's Vindication is the real big one. Templar's Verdict now has a 30% chance to strike again instead of 20%, and the strike again is not 15% of your damage, but 60% of your damage, and the chance is going to scale harder from 20% to 48% at max rank. Now is going to be 30% to 72% at max rank. Much better. Another very good change, this is probably the most powerful one if it is going to work as intended. Before, Virtuous Command was buffing through your judgment to give your Templar's Verdict, your Crusader Strike and your Blade of Justice a 40% chance to deal 20% extra holy damage. Now you have a 100% chance to deal 40% additional holy damage. This is more than double the buff. What's even better is that now the scaling is even higher. From 40% additional holy damage to 96% additional holy damage. At max rank, you will literally be doubling the damage of Crusader Strike, Blade of Justice and Templar's Verdict whenever Judgment is up. And you can keep this buff up. It's very good. Bunch of nerfs for Shaman. You know, at the end, Lava Surge looked like it was a tooltip error for a while. No, it's real. Lava Surge proc chance is nerfed from 20 to 15% for Resto and from 15 to 10% for Elemental. This is bad, no other way to put it. Elemental Equilibrium was your big brain rotation legendary. Now it's been turned into a 45 IQ, boring, soulless legendary. After dealing Fire, Frost, Nature damage within 10 seconds of each other, you're going to be doing 15% more damage for 10 seconds. Only once every 30. This is bad. It's going to be a background passive damage increase, but it's not very powerful. There are not many ways for Elemental Shaman to pull up damage to make use of this 15% buff. It was much better the way it was before. This is not very good. Legendary effects, Doom Winds for Enhancement Shaman that's been nerfed after it was buffed before. Now it got hit by the nerf, but again, it increased the damage by Wind Fury Weapon by 100%. It lasted for about 5 days before it was nerfed down to 25%. So, goodbye. On a side note, on a meme note, Deeply Rooted Element is actually getting buffed all across the specs. From 5 to 7% chance to activate Ascendance for Elemental and Restoration, and 8% chance to activate Ascendance for Enhancement. So I really love the Legendary, by the way. And that was it for meaningful changes to all the specs. There is a bunch more. You can go and check all the class changes and the spec changes if you want. I'll leave the link behind, but these were really the most relevant ones. And with this, I am over. I'm done. I wasn't even supposed to be doing this, so pretend you've never seen this. I wasn't even here. You guys soon. In the meantime, I go in hiding.